In this video, let us discuss in terms of our initial plan to set up the model and to set up the structure of the financial model. It is important that the structure of financial model is robust so that any change in the model can be carried out very easily. So before beginning to build any financial model, it is important that we spend ample amount of time in discussing and finalizing the structure of a model. In this case, in order to build a DCF model, what we would need is a detailed cash flow forecast so that we could arrive at free cash flow calculations. So to arrive at a cash flow, we are going to need to build a detailed integrated financial model based on the information that has been provided to us in the problem. The key question is, where do we keep the information pertaining to the assumptions and where do we keep all the calculations necessary? We would first always recommend to keep the assumptions in a separate sheet. The reason being, when the assumptions are in a separate sheet, it is possible to pretty much work with scenarios and to also perform sensitivity analysis. We have already seen that in one of our sessions where we saw that how we could easily work with scenarios and sensitivity tools if we have all the assumptions in one single sheet. So let us set up an assumption sheet right now. As we work with the assumption sheet, we also need to take into consideration the nature of the assumption. As we would see in the problem, there are certain assumptions pertaining to the company's performance which are different for different years. We would call this as time series assumptions. On the other hand, we also have certain assumptions which are not changing for different years. We would call this as non-time series assumptions. One of the classic example we have in the problem is the valuation assumptions, where all the assumptions pertaining to the valuations are not going to change for each of the years. We would call it non-time series assumption. In our assumption sheet, we would therefore create two sections to avoid confusion. One, which is the non-time series assumption, which we would use to capture all the assumptions which are non-time series, such that those which are not going to change for each of the years. And then we'll have another section to capture time series assumptions. So for the time series assumptions, we will capture for each of the different years. Now, as you would notice, as we are working along, the company name, the headers for each of the years are getting repeated in each of the sheets. Not just that, the reporting currency and units are also getting repeated in each of the sheets. We would want to stick to what we call as the dry principles, DRY, which is do not repeat yourself. So the best practice to handle here is any particular assumptions or calculations, anything that's getting repeated on multiple places, we would like to keep them in one place and link everything to that. So what we could do therefore is generally create a home tab, and in that home tab we can capture all the necessary information pertaining, or rather the basic information pertaining to the company, and link it to it. So in the home tab, we are going to set up certain key information which are going to stay as it is. I mean, these are the basic information about the company, such as the company name, last reported financial year, the reporting currency of the company, reporting units, whether they report in lakhs, millions, crores, billions. We may also want to capture certain information such as the company's current market price of the shares of the company and number of shares outstanding if necessary. And so let's set it up here. We have these information. We'll give it a name. Yum Foods Limited, that's the name of the company. The last reported financial year for the company is 2012. Reporting currency is rupees. Denomination is crores. Number of shares outstanding, we have been given in the problem, that's 7.5 crores, and market price per share is 50. Now what we are going to do is, rather than typing everything separately in each of the sheet, we would like to link it to this particular sheet so that the model can also be used for future purpose for any company as such, right? So what we'll do is, in our assumption sheet, for instance, rather than typing M Foods Limited, we'll link this particular cell to the home page. The last reported here, we'll, rather than manually punching it, we'll report it, link it to the company's home page, and few forecast years, we'll make it as last year +1, right? We'll do the same process in income statement as well. We can also use certain Excel's concatenating function to get the rupees in crores as a linked function. So to do that, we're going to concatenate certain numbers here. So we had a bracket first, so I'll have it here, and we'll use the ampersand key to concatenate. The reporting currency is rupees, and again an ampersand key to concatenate. In here we'll type space in space and the reporting units and the closing bracket. So what we have essentially done is we have linked everything to the home page, so that even in future, if you have to work with a different currency, different units, different for a different company, we don't have to go to each of the sheets and make the changes. We can, for instance, go here and make the changes as, say, rupees in billions. You notice that everything changes instantly. Alright. So this is one of the important principles to keep up. We'll stick to that. Another important principle to keep up is that what we call as a column consistency. If 2012 is in column C in one of the sheets, it has to be in column C in all the sheets. So in our assumption sheet, as we look into it, we notice that we may not need 2012 at all because the information is already available. Our forecast is focused on 2013, yet we have a row inserted for 2012. The reason for maintaining this column consistency is that in Excel it makes it easy to copy paste your formulas across different columns. In addition, it also makes it ample clear when somebody is working as to which year they are referring to. They don't have to go to different sheets to figure out what column in a particular sheet pertains to which particular year, right? So here we have set up a basic structure, and from here on we'll start working with our financial model. Let's go back and change it to crores again. Another important step is that we repeated this complicated concatenating. We don't want to repeat the same formula in multiple places for different reasons. One, to avoid making mistakes with the formula. B, to reduce the amount of processing power that your computer needs. So for instance, balance sheet, rather than, we would not type rupees and crores, we would rather link it to our income statement so that it flows directly from there. You don't have to use a complicated formula again. Alright.